Hopefully this works again. I'm going to pop up. Oh no. Oh no. Oh yes, there I am. Phew. Thank goodness. Can everybody hear me okay? That's the question. That's always the question. Why do I always have my microphone in the way? I don't know. Nobody knows. AJ's weekend live stream, not on the weekend. And the subject today is, hey Zachary, can you hear me okay? And the question is, are we in the Baldur's Gate era? Hey Moonring. Let me just pop out the chat here so I can see you all. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, we are good to go. So I thought I would pop in before the end of the month because it's my my last chance to earn any super chat dollars, and also just to catch everybody up on what an amazing month that it's been. You may not know this, but Baldur's Gate 3 has pumped about 7,000 brand new viewers into my channel. This is not existing subscribers. It's not subscribers per se. It's just viewers, unique viewers coming in from the game and watching my content. And that has had a massive impact on my revenue, which is really great. Because they're watching my old videos on Mind Flayers and all that lore, you know? So that's really good. I see those little reactions you're putting in there. You're expecting me to NPC for you. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Stop it. But thank you very much. Hey, Don. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Young. Slight echo going on. Yeah, there will be. Probably because of the room. Hopefully it's not anything else. I don't know if I've got two audio sources turned on. I don't think so. Yeah, Don, the Kickstarter went off without a hitch this time. Well, the fourth time lucky, I suppose you could say. So much like the first time I ran a Kickstarter, we had an initial target which we didn't hit, and I had to lower the target and start a new Kickstarter campaign. But we got most of the people to come over from the first campaign to the second one, and we hit our target, and that was for 1,000 mats manufactured. We've had about close to 900 mats ordered, which is great. That leaves us only with a little bit of extra stock that I have to keep in China, but that means that people can still buy the mats while we have that stock available through D&D Wow, the website, who sells all my stuff. It's 1 a.m., Stephen. Well, you're up. Guilty as charged. Hey, Gage. Hey, Moonring. Exit Chittle. Hey, Kairos. You got 3 kids and a wife all excited for games? Excellent. I hope I don't get a visitor. I got a strange feeling that I'm going to get a visitor this morning. They can hear me talking like the neighbors, and they'll come around and say hi. They want to give me a kitten at the moment. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for a kitten yet. You feel like the cleric is a slept-on class in Baldur's Gate 3? I have not played a cleric yet. I played a paladin, but I've really enjoyed playing a warlock because Eldritch Blast with the pushback meta magic is just so tactically useful. Because in the game, like one thing that's been really highlighted by a lot of people is if you've got a cliff or any sort of chasm that has fall damage involved, and you've got a high-level monster that is wiping your party, get your characters to shove them and like all do it in sequence and get your warlock to like Eldritch Blast them straight off the edge of that cliff, and they don't survive the fall damage. Secrets of the pros. But yeah, keep them off their feet. And it's really interesting watching people play who have been playing 5th edition for a long time and suddenly start to like the rules, now that it's a visual medium in front of them and they're actually tactically running around the landscape and stuff and doing stuff, they get it. And that's an interesting phenomenon for me, because I'm of the traditional mindset where you play with miniatures on the table and stuff. And those sort of things used to be just like given. But a lot of people these days just stream their games or have Google Hangouts or Zoom calls or something like that. And they may have VTTs and things, and they don't have that same experience, strangely enough. Like, even though they've got a VTT, they don't move their characters around dynamically like that, as you know, because when you're playing at a table with miniatures, you tend to have your hands on the miniatures all the time, moving them around and things. But sometimes, even so, with like very tactical players, they don't do that. They don't like say, I'm going to move over here and here, and they particularly get locked into the mindset of staying on the grid. Like, I'm going to move from this square to this square to this square. When of course in real life there's no squares on the ground, so you move wherever you want to go. So people who play gridless, and shout out to DM Scotty who championed this idea of playing a gridless map, is it's much more freewheeling, and you jump on top of objects and you try and fly across a chandelier, or do that sort of thing, or ride a monster, or run between the legs of a giant or something like that. It tends to encourage much more freewheeling movement, much more dynamic movement. And then again, we see with Baldur's Gate 3 that we see a lot more sort of dynamic movement and stuff. But this time you're restricted by where your character can go on the game mat, because they won't let them climb up, difficult things and stuff like that. There is a lot of climbing and stuff that you can do, but you can't just like, I'm going to grab my pitons and a rope and go up this cliff face here and see what's on the other side. I would like to see Larian go full World of Warcraft and just like let you climb, try your luck climbing a cliff face or something like that anywhere. Just really, really open it up. But of course, that's a massive programming task, and they need to bottleneck people somehow. So, to get them to go to the story. And that's the restriction of playing a video game. You're restricted to their story. You can't just do anything that you want. It's not a completely open sandbox. It's very freewheeling in many regards. You can just sort of wander around, but you are still locked into a video game plot. One thing I noticed, I had a real disconnect from being immersed in Baldur's Gate 3 when I was getting close to as soon as I saw a hyena, I just started I started blasting, because I know what hyenas mean in Forgotten Realms. And they went there. They fully went there with the hyenas. Of course, those of you who have not met the Knoll encounter, close your ears, I suppose. But there's spoilers about Baldur's Gate 3 everywhere, so I don't feel particularly bad about saying this. What a fantastic encounter that is. So yeah, the original lore of Yenogu and the Knolls, of course, I've covered on my channel in a very comprehensive video, as you know. And have been outspoken about how pissed off I am about people trying to take Knolls and turn them into like a good version of a Knoll, so that they can make like their furry player characters and have their furry footer art and stuff like in their games. I see you thirsty weebs. But yeah, no, real Knolls are horrific, monstrous, murdering, demonic killers that are birthed from, these crazed, demon-possessed hyenas. And as soon as I saw them, I just wanted to blast them. Yeah, Speak with Animals, I hear is very good. I did play a druid, but I was playing Iron mode, which means that when you get a party kill, you have to start again from scratch. And I played through the starting of the game about 6 times so far. And I've gotten as far as the Githyanki Crash, where I got killed again because I said the wrong thing. That's the other thing I like about this game. You can say the wrong thing and get killed. There's no takebacks. And I don't save scum when I play. Some cool stuff gets added with mods. Oh, really? There's mods already? What's your favorite undead monster? Well, the Lich would be my favorite undead monster. But I have a soft spot for lots of different things. And it really depends on like how you use them in play. Like, you can make skeletons very scary. Even the humble skeleton, just on the way that you depict it when you're playing. No loot, though. Yeah. Hey, Brent. Thanks for being a member of the channel. Hey, Zachary. Speak with animals, yeah. So playing a druid is really good. Being able to entangle things and speak with plants and speak with animals is an absolute must. The interactions you have in the Hag Swamp speaking with animals are really cool. I had a suspicion something was going on because every time I walked through water, I got attacked by something. Yeah, the 4-man party limit. Well, that's a holdover from D&D, I suppose. Really limits good builds needing one of each of the types. Well, you don't need to play them that way. And really, it comes down to how you play the game. Like all of the builds in 5th edition are pretty strong. And Larian has altered the rules a little bit so that they are all good standalone classes. Like even the druid's good, the monk is good, even the bard is good. Yeah, tabletop can be hard to get used to. And on the regards to that, it's those of you who don't know, I've been fully engaged in writing Super Atomic this last 2 weeks or so. This month, I really kicked into high gear and started doing the actual writing on it. And I am going to Kickstarter that. Now that I've finished the Kickstarter for the silicone battle mats, that provides me a little bit of revenue buffer, and also the input of the extra people who are playing Baldur's Gate 3 and are watching my lore videos on Mind Flayers and stuff has also provided me with an income buffer as well, so that I can afford to sort of settle back, chill on making videos for a bit, and actually get some writing done. So I'm at the stage at the moment where I'm doing all of the superpowers listing and stuff for it. But in a nutshell, Super Atomic it's designed to be a game that you play when you're streaming over Zoom or something like that. It's not designed to be a tabletop game. Most Supers games don't work that way anyway, because you have characters who can web sling and teleport and move at Mach 1. So it is a zero barriers for entry RPG with no dice mechanics, no attributes, no hit points and stuff like that you have to learn. You don't have to learn any game system. All you do is you essentially randomly roll your character up using a set of tables. That's extremely quick because you just like roll 1d100 5 or 6 times and generate the character that way. You copy paste those onto your character sheet, which you can just use like a piece of printout paper. And that's your character. That's all you need to know as the player, is everything that your character does, what their character is about, what their background and stuff is, and then you basically just role play from there. The host of the stream is the host of the game, and they're just called the host. I don't worry about Dungeon Master or Game Master or Storyteller or Lore Stoker or whatever the hell you want to call them. They're just the host, right? So it's what people generally say is, I'm hosting a game. So I'm just cutting away the chaff. So the host of the game then is the person who's narrating what the world is and what the characters are doing, and they can choose to use dice if they want to, but there's no mechanics for it. So if you say, have you got a dice available? Do you want to roll a dice for this situation? You can, but otherwise you just arbitrate and tell the story, and it really, really does work. I've done this myself, and you don't need D&D type mechanics to roleplay, particularly in a streaming game, because they just slow things down. Like, yeah, they really do. Like, can you imagine if Critical Role, for instance, didn't use any dice mechanics or D&D type mechanics at all, and they just fully immersed themselves in their characters and played their characters, and Matt Mercer was just narrating stuff? He'd be free to do anything he wanted. And in a Supers game, that's essentially what you want. So the host's challenge, though, is to restrict it to a particular setting. And the first one that I'm going to be producing and including with the game is Atom Punk, so 1937 New York City, prior to World War II, and the on the cusp of the invention of robotics and radar and electronics and that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Oh yeah, and of course, the nuclear age, the start of the nuclear age. So it's going to be a very, very fast and narrative game that you play via streaming, and it's going to be free. So the Kickstarter will be to Kickstarter a print version for Kickstarter backers only. So they'll be the only people in the world who have a print version of the original game. And is to afford getting artists and layout editors and basically people that I can get in to do a really nice job and not fill it full of AI art. Although I really do like the AI art that I've been producing for it. Yeah. I'm a Warhammer 40k fan, you can tell. Hey, Megan Buster Shepherd. Hey, Elmitra. You watched 8 of my old videos in the last 24 hours. You're welcome, and my players hate you. That's what I'm here for. Hey, Mr. Mackinac. Hey, AJ, I was planning on buying the new Planescape book, but after everything with Wizards of the Coast, I refuse to support them anymore. Good on you. Do you have any suggestions for good older resources for Planescape? The Forgotten Realms wiki is a really good resource for Planescape lore. They'll point you to the best source books to get, because the source books that are referenced most often on wikis sort of tells you where you need to go. But let's see, for the most modern stuff, the Tyrants of the Nine Hells and Lords of Madness and stuff is really good for Far Realmy and Infernal stuff. I don't have my D&D books on the shelf, but yeah, and there's on Drive Through RPG. There's what is it? It's a guide to the planes, all the different planes, which is also really good. It gives you a general synopsis of all the stuff that for a DM gives you like packages, like codexes for the different planes of existence that you can go to, and of course my videos. So any of the books and stuff that I reference in my videos when I'm talking about the planes and stuff, particularly videos on Sigil and stuff, those are the ones that you want to look at. I couldn't find my way down to the hag, so I sent a frog familiar down to spit on her. It just ended the mission immediately. Did it really? Good grief. You're playing a Dark Urge as a Spore Druid, and it's been fun. Yeah, I didn't really like being like, I didn't realize how evil the Dark Urge was. I hear there's people who like really lean into it. But yeah, I was glad that when that character got killed, because I didn't really like that storyline personally. I like to play through a game. I guess I've uncovered a bias of mine. I like to play through as a good guy first, and then play through as an evil character. That's my replay value. What's up, Green Scythe? Was meaning you still need a tank, a healer, a DPS, and an expert type character. It's funny you should say that, because that's like all language from video game stuff. A tank, a healer, a DPS, expert type. That's why fourth edition existed, because everybody talks about character builds in that regard because of like World of Warcraft and stuff, and then they just fully embraced it and put it into fourth edition, and all the role players went, "We hate this," and yet we all still talk that way. Like it's burned into our brains now. Since they don't balance for non-optimal party setups, quite a few bits become a lot. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've survived some really just gnarly fights in that game. Like I took on the middle of I was about to save and quit. I saved the game and I thought, what happens if I do pick a fight right in the middle of the goblin camp with the ogre and the hobgoblin and the 2 mages and this assassin dude and the 8 goblins around me? And I won. It took about an hour and a half, but I actually won and got inspiration points like you wouldn't believe. But that was one hell of a fight. But that was just tactical use of the sleep spell, friends charm, and other types of and positioning my characters and the way that they took down targets in succession in a very tactical way, and made sure that they were covered from getting too many ranged attacks headed their way. It was just tactical play. So I hate to say it, but sometimes you just got to get good. It's not about party composition. Yeah, we are definitely in the Baldur's Gate era. I wouldn't say Wizard of the Coast is getting a break this time. I'm just saying that it's very lucky, and I can see that. I'm not going to say I've seen the light, because I could see this coming a mile off, but a lot of people are now going to realize that a virtual tabletop for role-playing games works. And unfortunately, that is what Wizard of the Coast is building. And there's going to be a lot of hungry people for Baldur's Gate 3 type content who are going to flood to their virtual tabletop and the next edition of D&D built for that. And it is just the way that it is. There is nothing that we can do about it. So the majority of players of D&D are going to be playing online via virtual tabletop run by Wizard of the Coast, and they will be paying downloadable content and stuff like that. And that is just the way that it's going to be. There is nothing we can do about that now. The tide is definitely going flooding in that direction. And I honestly, there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm not going to fight it because I enjoy it too. As I've always said, I really like the evolution of the game. However, my kickback against that is, of course, Super Atomic, which is a completely free-to-play PDF that you can download and videos that you can watch. And I'm just going to just release it to everybody and say, this is how role-playing games began. See, back long ago, 50 years ago, it wasn't Dave Arneson and it wasn't Gary Gygax. It was another guy. And he sat down and he had a bunch of people show up at his house to play war games. And this is Napoleonic era war games with armies and stuff and rolling dice and stuff and armies moving around. Those are big, cumbersome games. They take a long time to resolve. And he had a lot of people who wanted to play. And he said, okay, how about this? Each of you, I'm going to give you, write out a basic character description. And each of you is going to play a spy from your army, from your leader, who is going to be coming to this town called Braunstein. And your job is, your mission during the evening is to talk to the other players who have their armies and stuff and ascertain who the spies are and try and find out about enough information about their opposing army so that you get advantages and stuff before we start the actual war games. And everybody was like, oh, okay, that's weird. Nobody had ever played a character like that before, like an individual character. And that was the first ever role-playing game. They had no attribute points. They had no hit points. They had no armor class. They had no spell list. They had no party role. It was just pure role-playing. And he was sitting in another room and he was starting to get notes like, how do we fight a duel? He's like, oh, right. Party conflict, like you would obviously get into a conflict with an enemy that you found out about. And it was the personality and the conversation of the characters that got everybody really hooked into this. And they said, we had such a great time. And they never ended up playing the actual war games. They were having so much fun playing characters. And that was Braunstein. Dave Arneson, who was one of the new kids, one of the younger crowd, and was really interested in playing fantasy games and stuff like that. He wanted to get away from the endless reenactment arguments where everybody was obsessed with the nuances. Like you'll see this every time somebody mentions bringing guns into Dungeons and Dragons, for instance. The people saying, well, it was around during the medieval times. And it's like, yeah, but fireballs and fucking wyverns weren't. And so your argument is invalid. But if you want to have firearms in your game, make alchemical firearms and magical firearms. And they're like, it's like, that's always been a argument that's been perennial, like forever in role-playing games, medieval and fantasy role-playing games. So Dave Arneson invented Castle Blackmore to get away from that and to introduce fantasy element into the games so that he wouldn't have to continually talk about like the reenactment stuff, drama, and be so laser focused on like the reality of like armor and stuff like that. He could just play Lord of the Rings and Elric of Melnibourne and Dying Earth and Barsoom, John Carter of Mars, those sort of games. He wanted to play fantasy games. So he introduced Castle Blackmore. Gary Gygax saw Castle Blackmore, went, hey, you guys are playing like individual groups of characters, the band of, the Fellowship of the Ring. This is a marketable game that we can do like a board game. And he basically created Castle Grayskull, and from Grayskull Castle Greyhawk, and from Greyhawk we had Greyhawk the setting, and Dungeons and Dragons was born. They introduced all the game mechanics and stuff to bring the wargamers into it like it was a war game of individuals, like a squad. But that wasn't necessary for the role-playing experience, and it wasn't central to the role-playing experience. And Gary Gygax has said many times, and was famously quoted, that the secret about role-playing games is you don't need rules. You can just role-play. And that is essentially what Super Atomic is all about. The secret of Super Atomic is that the barrier to entry is actually role-playing rules. You don't need role-playing rules. You can just play characters. It's a very natural thing to do. So there you go, a bit of history and the reason why I'm reducing the game to its basic elements. Super Atomic. You played the Dark Urge, full out pure evil Emperor Palpatine type, gave in to the urge every time, never tried to resist. How did that work out for you? Probably well. Yeah, Manual of the Planes, that was a good one. Yeah, the 3.5 splat books are solid gold. You're right, Pyre. Hey, Aaron Big. Do I sound a little bit weird today? You'll have just set up my microphone. I changed all my settings to do some other stuff. So I need to work on it a little bit more. I might sound a bit tinny. And also, I've just woken up. This is my first cup of coffee for the day. Hello from Canada. Hello, Canada. How's the weather? You must be... Are you in full-on mosquito season yet? Or is that earlier in the year? I always forget. If I want to run 4 rogues, I damn well can. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, killing goblins is just satisfactory. And they make you want to kill the goblins. That's what goblins are like in Forgotten Realms. So that's the thing I like the most about this game is it's accurate to Forgotten Realms. It makes me want to make a video about the butterflies of the Forgotten Realms because I'm like, the only animals that you see running around really are the butterflies. It's like, where's the Tressum? Where's, there's a lot of weird critters that you would normally see. And like the trees and things like that are very terrestrial. You don't see a lot. Like, I don't know if they paid great attention to like what the trees of the Forgotten Realms look like, but there's some different looking trees. I was trying to create a role-playing game based off the show Farscape. Any pointers you can give? Yeah, use the role-playing game for Farscape. There is a role-playing game based on Farscape. I'm not entirely sure where it's from or what rule system it uses, but there is one. And it's on Drive-Thru RPG, I'm pretty sure. One underrated feature of old TSR games is the conversion tables, which allowed you to take characters from game to game. We have a shared game using AD&D, Gamma World, and AXE currently. What's AXE? Never seen that acronym before. That's a very circular argument. Sure, you can always win, but it makes it a lot harder. I'm not saying it's an argument. I'm saying, that's the way I play. I don't play for party composition. I play for fun. And I just like if a encounter is hard, it's hard. I'll avoid it. Like how do I encapsulate that? Playing a part, like putting together a party that is as maximum as possible so that you can punch through and play an encounter any way that you want is not playing the game. Playing a game where, well, it is a way of playing the game. It's a legitimate way of playing the game. But playing a game where you've got a party which is weak in regards to like ranged attacks coming at them or something like that forces you to play the game different, and therefore you get more replay value because you play the game differently with that party composition. So who's shooting themselves in the foot more? The person who plays a weaker party on purpose and has to play different, or change their tactics or learn different tactics, or the person who just tries to maximize the build every time to play the same way every time. It's not a circular argument. It's just it's a mono argument that you're making, I guess. But it's a question of taste. I like playing characters for their own sake. I don't look at character builds and team builds and stuff like that the same way because I'm not mechanically minded like that. I've played D&D too long to give a shit about the game mechanics. Wizards of the Coast would have to put out a VTT that's as polished as Baldur's Gate 3. True. And you should basically thank Larian for making them do that. Travelers rules, yep, that's Travelers is excellent for making a plane Farscape. Which they wouldn't. It would be 1/4 of the quality of Baldur's Gate 3 for quadruple the financial investment of Baldur's Gate 3, which will open the door for Larian to be the next Pathfinder of virtual tabletops. Can you imagine if Larian went, hey, we don't have to use the 5th edition rule set. We can just make an open game world version of Baldur's Gate 3 that uses our own role-playing rules. Similar to 5th edition, using the open source stuff that they put onto the internet for everybody to use forever for free. And everybody will play it, and Wizard of the Coast will shrivel and die. Yeah, are you hearing this, Wizard of the Coast? If you put microtransactions in there, we're going to come to your house and stomp on your balls. Basically. Muzzle loaders are gimped enough to work in the setting, yeah? Is the echo that bad? Do I sound like a Borg? Hang on, I'm going to go into my settings and see what's going on. Oh, I see. There may be a problem with... if I turn this down, maybe? Okay. Does that make any difference? Do I sound better now? Is there no echo? Did that work? Yeah, I've lost my pop-out chat again. There it is. A small bit. Okay. If I turn the decibels down a little bit. For some reason, it's got Discord audio on there as well. Why are you there? ET mic? Ah. Okay, how's that? Has that got rid of the echo? That should have got rid of the echo completely. Or my sound has got just disappeared. Okay, there we go. For some reason, it was putting the audio from my Yeti mic through twice, and there was some sort of a... because it was below my... Oh, yeah, anyway. Fun with OBS, folks. They couldn't use the Forgotten Realms that way. Yeah, you're right. But doesn't really matter. You used to listening to podcasts that use the Xbox 360 mics. Ooh. Yeah, I would say that there's zero chance Hasbro hasn't built microtransactions into Wizard of the Coast VTT because of Cheryl Williams or whatever her name is. That's essentially all she's about. Well, she's about supply chain logistics, and I think they brought her in to basically kill printed books and printed media because they knew they were transitioning over to digital. Well, it's going to be one of those memorable live streams where it starts off all weird, I guess. It happens. You'd love to stay, but you're going to buy some weed. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Thomas Gregor. No, she came from various different places. She's a mercenary, corporate mercenary. So they bring these execs in because they've got a reputation for doing one particular thing, and they do whatever company they're in is just their task for the week. Like they hire her in to sort out the fact that they've got warehouses full of books that they can't sell. And they want to get away from doing print products because print products are just too expensive. They had all that problem with sourcing paper and stuff from China, and the first 5th edition books were printed really badly, like they're just falling apart. Corporate raider, well, yeah, corporate mercenary, and that's why these people have got like just sick amounts of wealth because they get all these bonuses, and like, can you come in and do this thing, and we'll pay you this bonus on your exit, sort of thing. So she has no loyalty whatsoever to the game. She doesn't give a damn about Dungeons and Dragons. Neither her or Chris Cox do. Essentially, you've got a bunch of people in D&D at the moment who are running the print arm of the D&D firm who shouldn't have nothing to do with it whatsoever because they have no interest in the fact that you've got this monolith of 50 years of literary history, a library of just super high quality writing. They don't give a shit about that. You can see that by the way that they treat writers and everything. When we lost Mike Mills, they just ripped the heart out of old school gaming and just tossed it away. And remember, I've kind of had a professional problem with the fop in charge at the moment. I don't know him personally, but you can see, like, every single time he touches something in the game, like he's obsessed with elves and stuff, and he's obsessed with like just what was the word I'm looking for? Gentrifying everything. Like, he doesn't want any evil things. It's like you want to, like, some sort of a pacifist kumbaya Forgotten Realms. Fuck off. Don't touch the Forgotten Realms. Go somewhere else. Make your own setting, you creative desert. Like, where's your stuff? I leave. Even Chris Perkins had his own home games and stuff. Where's Campbell's games? Crawford's game. Show me your creativity, Jeremy Crawford. Show me your home games. Show me your campaigns. Show me your world building. Show me what you do when you're not shitting all over the Forgotten Realms. There's your corporate stooge. Play a half lawyer first. Yeah, make your own setting, Wizard of the Coast. You hacks. Stop stealing. Like, that's what Hasbro does. It buys up other people's IP and then it just runs it into the ground because it's got no creativity of its own. They are creatively bankrupt, yes. You know why? Because they started off selling recycled rags and old pencils. They're just a trash company. But anyway. Yeah, that's why you're thankful they'll never touch Dark Sun setting. Yeah, probably not. I wouldn't say Cynthia Williams is a blight on the TTRPG industry. She's just a corporate stooge. She's just a corporate mercenary. So she's got nothing to do with the TTRPG industry, and she'll be gone from it like tomorrow. Won't even look back. She'll look back and go, that was a horrible fan scene to get involved with. But she doesn't care. The game could go up in flames and Chris Cox and Cynthia Williams won't give a shit. They don't care. Garfield cared. And they get paid obscene amounts of money. Obscene amounts of money. Yeah, I can say, though, that I looked through, I actually dipped back into the D&D Beyond website for the first time in months. And just to look at the Big B's Legacy of the Giants, or whatever the hell it's called. Glory of the Giants, the glory hole of the Giants, as people have been saying. It's actually a pretty good book. Aside from the AI art travesty in there, and that was absolutely deliberate on Wizards of the Coast part, and you can't tell me otherwise. Just to get like rage clicks so that people would look at it It's outrage marketing, people. I've told you this 1,000 fucking times. They put a deliberately controversial thing in there to drive people to look at it and talk about it. They gauge it just so that it's not offensive enough that everybody will like burn it in a pyre. But that they deliberately put that crap in that book so that people would look at it and buy it. Like give them some reason to look at the content. Because they know that people are just going to be like, nah, I don't want to look at any Wizard of the Coast product until they get like, oh, what's offensive about it? I must go and have a look. You know, there's like that rubbernecking as you drive past a car crash. Yeah, that's what their marketing is. It's like, well, what dumpster fire is going on over there now? I'll look at the product, and then you go, ooh. And the content of the Glory of the Giants book is actually pretty good. As somebody who's researched giant lore quite extensively, they did a pretty good job. Oh, you literally didn't hear anybody call it the Glory Hole of the Giants. It must just be the channels that I watch, I guess. I watch Dungeons Discourse Miniatures, because I love her Irish accent. I just do. It does it for me. So if you're watching Discourse, let's have a live stream sometime. Let's paint some miniatures together, baby. Yes, I do curse on my live streams, I'm afraid. Who else pirates books using any flip? I'm a professional researcher in Sage, so I pirate books. I've got everything. There isn't much that I don't have. I've got some books that were hand printed in Scotland, like in the first 3 or 4 years that Dungeons and Dragons existed, that has the origins of some of the earliest monsters, because I was looking to see who actually owned the IP for them. And I actually managed to track down digital copies of these books, these magazines. That I bet you the people who made them would be like, I can't believe that exists on the internet somewhere. But I found them. It's like my superpower. Nearly all the good stuff from D&D Beyond died as soon as Adam Bradford and James Hayek left. Yeah. Yeah, the lack of lore from 5e is like, first of all, they recognize that lore and mechanics are barriers to entry. So they want it to be very easy to get into the setting and give you the broad strokes. So the Gazetta books that they're putting out are just, here's the tropes of Planescape, here's the tropes of Forgotten Realms, here's the tropes of this. So what do you get in Forgotten Realms? You've got, or D&D, you've got Beholders, you've got Mind Flayers, you've got Githyanki, you've got, the Harpers, you've got Waterdeep, you've got Sword Coast, you've got Dragons, that sort of thing. And that's basically what they're giving you. They're giving you the highlights. And then when you go to get into depth of it, you realize it's just a painted veneer. There's nothing underneath it. There's hints of all the lore there, but if you actually want to learn the lore, you have to go online and go to Wikipedia and stuff like that and actually research it yourself, because they're not going to update everything. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most. Why update the setting a century in advance and not and then introduce old characters that are like 2 centuries old? And of course the lore is going to be broken. Like, what the fuck is Volo doing there? Like, Volo should not be there. He's 300 years old. D&D Beyond is just barely functional. Yeah, and here's the other thing too. I can guarantee as soon as the digital game comes along, all of the homebrewed stuff that is on D&D Beyond is going to go bye-bye. So if you are of the mindset that if you use all that homebrew stuff, copy as much of it as you can onto like databases and stuff like that as quickly as you can, as thoroughly as you can. Back it up. Don't rely on the Wayback Machine to find that for you. Dungeon Dad is fantastic. Dungeon Dad and Jordan, the PH is silent. They're like my homies. I love their stuff, and of course, Mr. Rex deserves all the credit that he gets. Hey, thanks, Green Scythe. Hey, Potato Taco. Potato Tato. Where do I get my? Why does everybody ask me about this hat? These hats, I got this from China, and it's called a cheese cutter hat, I think. And I've had people ask about it in the past, and I put links to it and stuff. You can just get them from like Wish or any of those sort of bulk supply places. And I don't know, I just like this style of hat because it's nice and comfortable. It doesn't itch at all. And I don't like the clasp thingy on the traditional style of baseball caps. And it suits me obviously. It's a mature gentleman sort of a hat. It's like the 40-year-old Gen X type, 50-year-old Gen X type hat. I am what I am. Making the setting a character of itself, caricature of itself, yeah. What other RPG related channels would you recommend? Yeah, basically those Mr. Rex, Dungeon Dad, Jordan. Definitely go and check out Runehammer, Dungeon Coach, the Dungeon. Oh, there's so many DMs and Dungeon ones. OKSDM, all of the guys from the Dungeon and Dragons like roundtable chats that we have. Wally DM for sure. How to D&D or How to RPG. He has like lots of stuff on character builds and walkthroughs of stuff. There's lots of Pathfinder channels which are up and coming. Definitely go and check those guys out. Your Pocket DM is a good one, or Pocket GM, for walkthroughs of dungeons and stuff like that, like Pathfinder adventures and stuff as well. So yeah, there's plenty to see. There's too many for me to mention, really. Oh, Volo, yeah, but I'm talking about why they advanced the setting like 100 years, just as a general rule. Every time they make a new edition, they just advance the setting of Forgotten Realms 100 years for no reason. It's like it's okay to do that if you're creating new world books and world setting books and stuff like that, but they haven't. They haven't created a new world setting book for the Forgotten Realms. They just didn't. Volo is an interesting take. He is a bard. He's a lore bard, essentially, I think. Legend of Drizzt is a good series. Yep. Mythkeeper. That hat style is called a peaky or a slouch. No, peaky is more baggy. I've never heard of a slouch before. It's regional, Almetra. There's no hard and fast thing to it. But I appreciate you researching the law and giving me the term slouch, because that suits me perfectly. I wear a slouch hat because I am a slouch. Oh, Esper, yeah. Of course, Esper. Esper the Bard. One of the problems of D&D is the low quality of a lot of the older lore. Every major villain, even major villains like Zastam, are crafted like the authors didn't give a damn about the setting. Yeah, there's also been some arguments about like the Netherese content from Slade as well. He didn't do a lot of consulting of the lore when he wrote that. Eric Boyd really just shook the pillars of the entire thing. Like one of the things to understand about Baldur's Gate is that it's a post-apocalyptic setting. The last great human empire was the Netherese Empire, and the Netherese Empire was created and brought down by Jurgle for his own reasons. So he wanted to stop being a spellweaver and incarnate himself into 6 godlike beings. And in order to do that, he needed to infuse them with pure magic, which is what Karsus was doing. Karsus infused himself with pure liquid magic, like solidified magic, and then unfortunately tried to steal the power of Mystra, which resulted in the breaking of the weave and the falling of all of the floating cities of Netheril, which brought down the empire. But that is relatively recent. So the fall of the Netherese Empire was just like the fall of the Roman Empire sort of thing. And there's a lot of parallels. Like you can imagine if the Romans were all mages, like all run by a magocracy, that was kind of what their empire was like. That's their origins. They were a bunch of different city-states that bound together with a strong military, and then they learned magic from the Ilani elves and essentially created a magocracy that was, and Jurgle was in the background, and the Terraseer, who was a Saruk, like ancient reptile race, were pulling the strings. The Terraseer and Jurgle were pulling the strings and feeding them the nether scrolls and all that sort of stuff the entire time. And it was Jurgle who brought about the end of the Netherese Empire. And he's not interested. He's like retired from, he doesn't want to be a god. He's an immortal, almost an immortal being, a spellweaver whose reality no longer exists. He just wanted to get back to his normal reality again. But unfortunately, he can't reset the ritual of ascension of the spellweavers. So he's just like given up. And he handed his portfolio over to the Dead Three, Bane and Cyric and Kalimpor. And so the plot lines that we see are the most active divine plot lines that we see are involving, Bane and Merkel and Jurgle and those guys. It's right in the start of the game. You see the shrine when you start to play. Yeah, Volo's just like one of those mutants that's too funny to die. It's your theory that the NPC Withers in Baldur's Gate 3 is secretly Jurgle. Oh. Baldur's Gate. No, there's actual lore as to who Baldur was. Caesar the Spellweaver. Yeah, you could say the Imascari were the Greeks. Yeah, kind of. Or the Imascari was ancient Egypt, kind of thing. I mean, a lot of the Mulan or the Mulan race is essentially from Babylonia and ancient Egypt of Earth. They got pulled over to the Forgotten Realms in the lore. Just let Jurgle retire, man. Yeah, just die, Jurgle. Just die like you're supposed to. Your 6,000 year long lifespan is enough. The thing is, thanks, Thomas Griggle. That's dedication for you. Hey, meme. Hello, Italy. Yeah, Stephen, you should really look that up. Yeah, solid magic. Yeah. I mean, all of the lore of Magic the Gathering is kind of unnecessary too when you think about it. Like, it's just to sell new card packs, but they must crank out so much new lore. Oh, what a hard-working lore team, and just so underappreciated. Hey, thanks, Ramstorm Rage. It does now. Yeah. Yes, Volo is a law bard in the way he behaves. Is he a low level wizard? I mean, he can be like you can be a cross class NPC. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the Dead Three. I really hated Cyric from day one. I don't really like Kalimvor. And yeah, Bane is interesting, and Baal is interesting. Um, yeah, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on them. They're just like ascended player characters that have become gods, which is what everybody like living the dream, you know. Thoughts on possible changes to the Kenku? Do they want to make them talk now? That's probably what they want to do. Non-talking player, like non-verbal player characters, is really hard to pull off, and I think it was a bad idea to begin with. So yeah, I can see that changing. And when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense because magpies and stuff like that can talk anyway. So it's just, yeah, kind of crazy. And they wanted to make them like the Skeksis from Dark Crystal. Kind of, a little bit. Which is where you got the Nagpar. Sorry, the Nagpar are the Skeksis from Dark Crystal. So make the Kenku more like the Nagpar. Which have got to do with the Shadar-kai elves and the fall of the Raven Queen. Just let Jurgle retire. Ian's doing great. Ian's in Hamilton. He's working with kids with disabilities. He's running games. He's having a good time. I just want to be a nerd bird. Yeah, Cyric very much was the stereotypical murder hobo, edgy rogue player character, self-inserted OC. And yeah, you're exactly right. The Dead Three felt like a dynamic adventuring group that bickered. Yes, that's exactly what they were. I mean, you can read about them. They're in novels and stuff, so you can read all about it. Hey, HB Hugger. Yeah, it is what God of Illusion would do, Jared. Yeah, the Raven Queen is interesting because she's kind of like a ghost. Like she's locked into sort of replaying the past, and she's almost like a fey entity because she's locked into the story, this tragic story. Yeah, I quite like the Raven Queen as well. Just a reminder to everybody that this is a monetized live stream. It's my last chance of earning revenue for the month. But also, thanks to Baldur's Gate 3, my revenue has been up this month because I've had a lot of people coming in and enjoying the content, looking up mind flayers and stuff, because I have arguably got the most comprehensive lore videos known to man. And it took a lot of hard work for many years making this archive of 700 odd lore-packed videos. I just wish that my audio was as good as it is now back then. Replaying the past is kind of the Shadowfell's big thing. That's true. The Shadowfell has got echoes of the ethereal plane because the border ethereal plane has got the echoes of the past. Like you've got, like if you cross over to the border ethereal and there was once a building there that got burnt down recently, there'll still be an echo of that building there. That's why ghosts repeat everything, because they're walking around in structures that exist in the border ethereal plane that no longer exist in the real world. So they walk through walls and down staircases that no longer exist and stuff, because from their point of view, they're very real. And that's why they're locked into like this dream that they're repeating, a nightmare that they're repeating over and over again. But if you free a ghost from that, if you wake a ghost up and have it not pass over due to the inexorable pull of the ethereal to the fugue plane, in Forgotten Realms. Then they become a free agent, ethereal being that you can use. You know, they can become an espionage agent, fantastic espionage agent. Just possess somebody's body and walk around and get info and stuff. A free roaming vapor, as the Ghostbusters would call them, class 5 free roaming ethereal entity. And imagine that as a player character. The Raven Queen always struck me as a barely concealed ripoff of the Morrigu in the Celtic mythology. I would say don't look at D&D as ripping off Celtic mythology or any mythology, really. They're borrowing from it and just changing it and turning it into something else. But that's the entirety of D&D, is built on other fantasy, other ideas and stuff like that. It's a medium where though we get to experience these stories and folklore and stuff. Like if you're interested in what is a Tarrasque, for instance, you go back and look at the history of what the Tarrasque actually was. It's quite interesting because it's a cryptid story. Like, were there giant turtles in the rivers around France? No. There were giant turtles in China once. Like, really big. Hey, Devious Dungeons. Yeah, they changed it into something they could copyright. And that's the dirty thing, really. Like, that's why Wizard of the Coast shouldn't be making stuff. And you'll see that more and more often. In print products and stuff, it won't be here is this beholder. It'll be here is Laxaforg. And they'll only refer to it as Laxaforg because they will not want anybody using that because they can copyright the name. It's like they're perfectly fine releasing Beholder and Illithid to the public, but they'll call Mind Flayers by their personal name in adventures and stuff so they can copyright it. So all of the NPCs and stuff that you play will be named NPCs. It won't just be like the rogue. The Macbeth treatment. You're having a drink of some Paul Mason brandy. Nice. There's nothing new under the sun, apart from the stuff that I make. Play the Raven Queen like Death from Sandman. I like it, Pyre. That's a good idea. Yeah, so far, like a lot of people are going from 5th edition to rules light games like Morkborg and Dungeon Crawl Classics. They're having trouble with the idea in Dungeon Crawl Classics where you have lots and lots of characters that you play simultaneously. Particularly, like, role players seem to have a problem with, like, the 5th edition deeply immersive, huge backstory, thespian type role players that you get in 5th edition, trained up on like becoming emotionally invested in their characters from Critical Role and stuff, have a big problem with the idea of playing multiple characters at the same time. But it's normal to do that in old school type games because the kill rate for low level characters is so high that you just don't have time to get attached to them. And eventually it's whoever survives to go and level up, then you start their first levels are basically a backstory for the character. And that's a normal way of playing the game. If you don't want to play that way, then don't play Dungeon Crawl Classics, I guess, because you're just not going to gel with it. But I suggest try it, and get used to the idea that there are different styles of playing role-playing games. And this idea that you have to get emotionally invested in your characters is just weird, really, when you think about it. It's like it's a bad idea. There are people who legitimately, if you have mental health problems like delusions and psychosis and stuff like that, there are legitimate reasons not to get involved in a group that is playing an imaginary game because your imagination is weaponized and can cause problems. Like if you break down in tears at the table, I would say that's just a dick thing to do. You basically are the red card that you would hold up and say like, no, I don't want you playing at the game if you're going to get so emotionally invested at this game that you're going to break down in tears and have like an emotional breakdown in front of me. Like, I'm just here for the pizza and the fucking pretzels, man. Like, I'm just drinking Mountain Dew and talking shit with my friends. I don't need this like a method actor at the table. And so you really need to say that that's what you're there for, because it's like a big deal. It's a big deal. Hey, thanks, Zachary. Grabs the infinity chat. I'll do it myself. AJ, what is your current character and who have you been bringing with you the most? I have not got a current character, so I haven't got a regular campaign that I'm playing in at the moment. I've just been playing some pickup games. We've got Morkborg that we've been playing. We've got Dungeon Crawl Classics that we've been playing, and we've got I've got a Beck Me character that I'm going to be playing soon. This Friday, I think, actually. Whereabouts are they? I'd like to show you. This is Dungeon Crawl Classics character sheets, so you can see how light they are, right? Just like a name and some printed out stats. Trillian, who has a spear. Gord Keanu. I only gave Gord a name after we finished the adventure, but Trillian had a name from the start. I don't know where I've left all my stuff. They're around somewhere. Other rules like games like DM Scotty's Easy D6, for instance. There's another one. Dragonbane and the Forgotten Lands are sort of they're a little rules light as well. Yeah, I've been trying to get it. I've been reading through the Cipher System and the Strange and Blackstorm Realms and various other things lately. Yeah, but also checking out lots of different rule systems and stuff. And of course, because I'm making a Supers game at the moment, I've got this next to me. Oh, this massive big tome. This is the Marvel Encyclopedia from 2006, I think it was. Is this 2006? So this is before the MCU almost, I think. Yeah, 2006. Really fun read. Like, this is like, see how thick this book is? Each character, like look how many different entries are. Like, that's how small the entry is for characters on here. If you're lucky, you'll get 2 pages for like the Hulk or something, but there's just so much information in there. Oh, man. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of like character stuff going on at the moment, and I haven't been running enough games lately, and I'm feeling it. Like, I really need to run some games. I haven't really been paying much attention to the Dark Sun setting because it was never really my vibe in the first place. I don't really have a dog in that fight, you could say. I just hope that people realize that whatever Wizard of the Coast comes out for it is going to be a shadow of what Dark Sun really is. Coffee stains? No, I just refill. I just refill my coffee mug. I drink very strong black espresso. No sugar, no milk, just water and beans. And I make a mix of Robert Harris Irish coffee with some hummingbird espresso. You personally never heard of anyone being that invested in their character. I'm glad. It's uncomfortable. Hey, Carl Brogo from Discord. Do you have a preferred fantasy race? I know that your preferred class is cleric. Yes, my preferred fantasy race is gnome. Particularly deep gnomes. I just unlocked a core memory for you. The big Marvel book was your childhood. Yeah. That book is a weapon. It seriously is. $48 sugar cubes. Good God. Hey, there you go. Thomas Gregor. Man of the people. He'll be in my Discord server in a couple of hours. Whatever happened to the super chat dragon? He's right there. He's up. He's up on the top shelf there. He's got a nice view out the window to the world outside, and it's made him very happy. He's sick and tired of staring at the back of my head all the time. Sverf Nebelin is what they're called. No, I'm not kidding. Yeah, drow are cool. It depends really what I'm playing. I like playing elves. I like playing all the different races really. You know how it's pronounced? Oh, you were just giving me shit. Okay. Well landed blow. Touche. Surf Neblin. Oh, hey, picture this scene. I had a character named Snicklegrick. He's my favorite ever cleric character. He is a Svirfneblin, a deep gnome god of the cleric of the god Gelf Darkearth. Gelf Darkearth is the evil brother, twin brother kind of Gal Glittergold, and he's like Hades. He's a rebel without a cause. He is against all things gnomish because he's jealous of his brother essentially. And so to worship Gelf, what you do is you take a little anvil, a little broken anvil, and you take something that has like meaning to you, like my father gave me this watch, and then you put it on the anvil and you smash it with a hammer. And like the emotional pain that you have when you lose something that you love is the offering to Gelf, right? That's what he craves. It's the emotional attachment to something. So he takes things of beauty, gems, all that sort of stuff, all the stuff that gnomes normally would never destroy. He takes them and he forces you to smash them up because he rejects gnomish culture as like materialistic, fickle bastards. And yeah, so Snicklegrick, if you want to get healing from him, he'll say, the cost is not monetary. I need this. And it's like, but like this means something. This is a symbol of my god, of my faith. It's like, put it on the anvil and smash it up or I won't heal your broken leg. It's like, all right, put it on there, smash. And then he heals your leg for you. It's like, Gelf requires your suffering. And this was great for role-playing. And in the adventures, we were playing like the Against the Giants sort of adventure thing with Von and Dodd and all that hoo-ha. And big, long, sprawling campaign. And every time he got like a magical item or something like that, or something like valuable or pretty or something, he would smash it to pieces on the anvil. And right at the end of the adventure, he got like a really powerful sword thingy from the Giant King and smashed that up on his anvil and got like granted a boon for it. But my favorite scene with him was we were coming into this great big desert amphitheater, like a big like Colosseum type structure where we were fighting a dragon. And he was flying on the nose, the beak of a rock, right, with his weapons out, cloak flapping behind him, like thunder rolling in behind him, and he's got like this storm giant ally that's like riding the rock behind him, and he's just like, and he's speaking the spells, and when he's speaking the spells, I'm using like a reverb type effect on my microphone so that his voice becomes echoing and powerful because he's speaking to the divine. And literally like the Star Wars scene where the rock is the X-wing and flying down between the chasm of the bleachers to go to the central thing. And I drew some character art of this because it's just so cool. It's like the X-wings going across the water to attack the guys. Just like perfect scene. Yeah, he and Shah probably get along like a house on fire. They'd be like the worst couple to arrive at the party. It's just like, this party sucks, but we're here. This party's cool now because we're here. It's like, did you know that Shah's going to the party? Really? Yeah, and Gelf's going to be there. That means the punch is definitely going to be spiked. Yeah. And the cool thing about gnomes, of course, is everybody like underestimates gnomes, particularly the deep gnomes. They're so stoic. It probably involves a house on fire. Yeah, exactly. Yes, this coffee would kill a non-dire hobbit. It's true. What's my setting vibe? I'm a supers fan. I love superhero games, and I love sci-fi. So I like playing Traveller and freebooting and stuff like that. Like I love video games where I basically get to trade and explore. Like if yeah, Farscape would be like a fantastic setting for me, or not Farscape, Firefly, where you basically you're a ship captain. Like blame an early love of Traveller, for instance. I love the idea of owning a ship. Like Han Solo would be my lifestyle. Perfect. Me and Chewie. Me, me, Chewie, the galaxy, and a fat credit account, and some nice places that I regularly visit who know what I like to eat and drink. That's me happy. Has a fear of deep gnomes, your goblin. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Right. Time for me to go, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a good chat, I think. I'm glad we got my sound sorted, finally. Could I imagine playing D&D with aliens? I think that would probably be one of the best ways to actually get to know aliens, is to play D&D with them. Mongrel is your goblin's name. That's a very Australian thing to call a goblin. YouTuber person. Thanks, Moore's Parasite. You can tell the old fans who still call me Glue Stick. Hey, Fred, sneaking in here. Hoping my day is not... No. I'm writing Super Atomic. So I'm actually putting aside Baldur's Gate 3 as a reward for myself. Yeah, I'd be smuggling battle mats across the galaxy. Exactly. Yes, see you Friday, Fred. Catch you later, everyone.